Today we've had the presence of Lee Burton, who's an account executive with SecureLink Financial Group. And, you know, the reasoning behind having Lee come in today is because there's so many things that we have to deal with in life. And, you know, it's interesting. There's a statement out there, stress does not choose any particular gender, and neither do any types of forms of health issues either. And, you know, unfortunately, on everyday life, there's things that we all have to deal with. So being prepared and having information at your disposal from the expert is what it's all about. You know, Lee, I know you've been in the business for quite some time.
Too long.
No, not too long. We go back. Actually, I have to tell the audience, Lee is actually my own insurance consultant as well, and has been for too long, you said. Wait a minute now.
Quite a while. For sure, 10 years, that's for sure.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, at least. I mean, you know, I have to tell everybody how we met. We actually met through the hockey world and through a referral through the hockey world.
Correct.
That's how it was. And, you know, a lot of times that's what happens in business. I know even in my real estate business, you know, I'm fortunate now, you know, over 90% of my business is referrals. Exactly. You know, you do good business, you care about people, you know, you work your hardest for them, and you become friends. I mean, you're my friend. You're not just
100%.
my... Yeah, exactly.
100%.
That's the way. And that's healthy.
It is very healthy. It's always good to be healthy and have friends and talk about things and be open with things. I think that's very good.
So, you know, we're going to bring a whole new avenue here for Canada Life. They need a section in their brochures that talks about referrals and friendships and health and all the things that could trigger good lifespans. You know, because stress is not good. But if you've got someone like, you know, a lot of people, if they're nowadays, you know, a lot of families aren't having, you know, 3 and 4 and 6 and 8 and 10 kids anymore. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, single, like one child families.
You're right.
There,
you know what, Linda?
You know,
there are.
Yeah. So if there's one thing that I do know without a doubt, because, you know, my brother actually passed away many, many years ago when he was only 32. We didn't even know that he had a heart problem. We had no idea.
Wow.
You know, he had an enlarged heart. He was born premature, and they believe that it had happened way, way back, like many years ago. That would be like, you know, over 50. Well, he'd probably be in his late 50s now, yeah. You know, and that was something that it was a shocker because, you know, when he had his first heart attack, we were wondering, well, how the heck did he have a heart attack? You know, that didn't make any degree of sense. He was only like 30 years old at the time. And then, of course, when they started doing the research and they found out that his heart was enlarged and, you know, and then he'd always had a bit of a weight problem as well. So the combination of the two wasn't a good formula. So he didn't make it on time they were actually going to consider him for a transplant, but he didn't make it there. And I really believe that to go through certain types of things, you have to have a strong will to live. You have to be a very determined individual. And you have to have a lot of positive reinforcement around you.
That's key. I mean, the way I look at it today, I mean, even our younger generation, and another great thing with the critical care is it does protect younger generation. People say, well, geez, I don't want to get this on my 10-year-old child. What am I saying if I get this sort of thing on my 10-year-old child? Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, it's not uncommon today. My son's 15 years old. When he was in grade 8, his good friend had a brain tumor, and he was 12 years old. So my point to that is, if that individual would have had critical care on that young boy, there would have been coverage there for the family, a tax-free lump sum that would have gone to the family, and the mother literally quit her job to take her son to the hospital daily, downtown Toronto to Sunnybrook. That's a lot of a commitment, and that's a life-changing situation. So I reach out there to the families and to the individuals. You know, don't be afraid to look at this sort of thing for your children, because, you know, they're very important, and they're the next generation, and we've got to protect that generation. And people get, like you mentioned, Linda, they get worried. Oh my gosh, I don't want to talk about this because it's something we just don't talk about. Not good. It is good. I'm not saying you have to have the conversation with your children, but please be aware and maybe spend that $20, $25 to put it on your child, and they will benefit. And you know what, Linda, I give you credit 100%, because, you know, when your boys they were where you told them and you advised them, listen, this is what you need to have. You need to have this critical illness. You need to have your life insurance. And you advise them, and you advise them properly. And more individuals need to take ownership like yourself, more parents, whether you're single, whether you're married, it's irrelevant. But you need to tell your children, hey, listen, this is an important thing moving forward. And my hope is just to educate more people on this and let them know it's not as expensive as people think it is. You don't have to have that Mercedes-Benz type of plan. Just as long as there's something's better than nothing.
Right, exactly. And you know, what you have said goes along the lines all the way through. I think our whole mentality, you know, I did a show about teaching children, like, you know, I was making the comment that in school, what happens is they have shadow day, job shadow day. Mm-hmm. And then in high school, they have career days. And they want to open the door so that, you know, young children will start putting their mind on what they want to do for the future, which is great. I'm not knocking it. I think it's fantastic. They don't follow it through, though, because then what happens is they get into university, they get a job, and now they got all this money. So now they're all happy. They've got all this money. That's great. 100%. So they just blow it.
Yeah.
So the show that I had was actually about how families, parents, because they do have the wherewithal, they know about it, is to open up the door at the dinner table and maybe talk about condominiums and let the kids learn a little bit, because that is going to be the future of their purchase. So now if we're talking about, you know, things that are happening out there in life, so if schools implemented systems where not only did they look at jobs, but they're all looking at where the students later, as they graduate and get into, you know, their rental accommodations or whatever, already have the foot in their door with home ownership information. So maybe this could be a complete package where not only do they have the foot in the door with home ownership understanding, they also have their foot in the door with understanding life insurance, critical care insurance. Like, why is it that in high school you need to learn subjects that you would absolutely never, ever, 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 ever like, sounds like a song, doesn't it? Is there a never-ending song? There is a never-ending story. That's it. Yeah. But, you know, why have that? I don't understand. I mean, you know, in our generation, we have gone through hoops and bounds. I mean, look at what we've done, into, you know, from going from no photocopiers, carbon papers.
We're making the tracks, making the roads. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, into, you know, many years ago when they had like Commodore 64 computers.
Yeah. Atari.
Yeah. We had a cell phone that
looked like
you
a shoe.
You had to lift weights to be able to carry it around.
Sure enough, yeah.
Right? Yeah. It wouldn't fit in your purse.
No,
you know, forget that.
Definitely not.
And as far as the guys, forget it. You're done. You know, so you'd have to carry a purse.
There's no hiding that.
Well, that's the point. Yeah. So, you know, and you look at the transitions of where everything is at. Yet we have not made any move forward ideas of establishing maybe one new curriculum that over a period of semesters could have these extremely important subjects.
Well, you know what's interesting too, Linda?
Don't you agree?
I 100% agree. And I think...
And you heard it here, right?
You heard it right on Linda's show.
Exactly,
there you go.
Yes.
No, I agree. And you know what? You're 100% right. I mean, but I'm sure there's times you've sat with your clients and like myself where I say, you know, if I could have done it all over again, I would have started that $2 million policy when I was 20 years old, graduating from college, or 21 years old, 22 years old, graduating from college, started that $2 million whole life plan for $40 a month or whatever it is, and never looked back. And that would have taken me through my family life, the kids, the marriage, all of that good stuff. But you learn as you go. And I tell, and I'm sure you do as an experienced real estate agent, I tell the younger generation, listen, now's the time. You're 22 years old, 23 years old. You should be locking in this critical illness plan in your life insurance and never look at it again. And that's a beautiful thing, because premiums today are calculated on your age, your gender, and the amount of coverage. Well, if I'm male or female in my 20s, that cost of coverage won't be near as much as it would be if I was in my 40s or 50s, male or female, applying for that same coverage. And that's the message that we want to try and get across. And I think it's really key, and I agree, the education system today doesn't talk about enough about real estate, which I think is a huge investment in people's life. It's probably one of the it is the biggest investment you're ever going to make in your life. Individuals need to be educated about it. And insurance, no one likes to think about it, but we're all going to go sometime. It's just when, where, and how. So that being said, I'm very passionate about the critical illness product. I'm a big believer of it. I have delivered those checks to the families, and not once have I ever been kicked out of a house saying, geez, we don't want this money. Individuals embrace you and they appreciate that, wow, this really does happen. It's life. So I urge you to educate yourself with the critical illness product. And, if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call or drop me a question, and I can definitely get back to you, and we can go from there. But it is a very good product, and it's a very passionate product, and I think it shows individuals, your love for them too, because these things do happen. So.
And is there not some kind of embedded counseling service of some sort that's involved?
You know what, that is another...
Because, families dealing with issues, sometimes it's not just about the person that has the illness, but how the family itself is dealing with the illness.
You know what, you're 100% right. And I go back to that story that I told at the beginning of the show with that individual in his 50s who's very successful. He struggled through his heart attacks. It affected his wife. And thankfully his kids are older. They're out of the nest and they're involved in their own lives. But it affected her life because she had to change a lot of things in his diet, in his day-to-day habits. It affected her too. So to your question to that, Linda, yes, there is changes that does happen with the family, and there are services through these types of products where they do have a call center or a call line where they can talk to the individuals and say, listen, you know what, we know you're battling through this right now, and we know the kids or your spouse is having problems, but we do offer this service to talk to you and give you alternative solutions to help your problem. And I think that's very important.
Well, it certainly is because, one thing, you have your medical stress, but then you have your financial stress. And then your medical stress contributes to your financial stress. So it's a revolving, it's
a vicious circle.
You got it, exactly. I'm going to put my condo hat on here for a second because, a lot of people don't realize that when they own a property, of course, they know they better, pay their monthly bills. Certainly with their bank mortgages, they can't fall behind because if they do, they could run into a power of sale position.
Yes.
And generally banks are not too bad. Banks, they, depending on which the financial institution, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, understanding that there could be some, medical situations going on, they could maybe arrange some type of system where, they could have interest only as opposed to involving the principal. Create an interest only for the time being. But at the same time, if you've got monies coming in through the critical care, you have that to support you.
It helps.
But what I want to touch on condos is the maintenance fees. And the reason is because I think a lot of people don't know this, Lee, but the maintenance fee takes first priority, not the mortgages. So, which means, and you may have a board that is not receptive to making any kind of adjustments, and they demand that 700, it could be a low one, it could be 300, but I've seen condos that are 900 a month and 1,500 a month and 1,700 a month, and and those boards, I don't think they're going to make compensations for it, and if they don't, then you have to pay that because they can immediately already file after 30 days, and then you're going to file a lien against the property. After 30 days, they could go, technically speaking, they're supposed to do the 30, 60, 90.
Yeah.
But they could not abide by the Condo Act because it's a self-governed situation. So there's no penalties or fines that if the board doesn't abide by the Condo Act. A family is already compromised. It's not like they can afford a lawyer to combat the board.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, you could potentially have a lien, and then the condominium declaration states that all of the legal expenses incurred as a result of a particular unit have to be borne back by that unit owner. So not only are you now in the hole for, you have to pay your maintenance fees anyway, but on top of that, you could potentially have a substantial legal bill, which could add to the problem. And like I said, I mean, a financial institution maintaining their reputation is going to be at the forefront. So I don't think if they heard that somebody had a major critical illness that they wouldn't try and work it out, or consolidation or something. But that's way out in left field now when we're talking about condominiums, because
I didn't know that. That's
and that's why I wanted to put it out there, because it's not an everyday topic. So therefore, and there's nowhere, like, I will challenge anybody out there to really surf the entire net. And yes, you're going to get lawyers making comments about this situation, that situation, so on. But how much is it out there for people to know? I don't think so.
Well, here's what I'll tell you quickly, just to add to that, and those are some great points, Linda, and that's more the reason why people should look at this product when they purchase, make their biggest purchase in their life. But what I will tell you, the banks that offer this product, it is so ridiculously not up to par, it's scary. And usually when couples, whether you're a single person or you're a family, and you're at your bank and you're signing 150 papers when you've got your mortgage, this critical illness paper is the last paper. They don't ask health questions really, and they only protect 3 or 4 or 5 illnesses max. How is that going to benefit an individual? And chances are that individual that suffers the critical illness won't be protected under the plan with the bank, because it won't be the same illness that they have. And if they don't disclose an issue before, chances are the claim won't be paid. So this is why I urge individuals, when they are purchasing their home, say, oh yeah, I have critical illness, I got it through the bank. Please, 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 don't go through the banks. Deal with an individual like myself, or an insurance company that does this all day long, 7 days a week, 12 months out of the year, and that have the product to service the individual. And
let the audience know, where can they reach you, Lee?
You can get me directly on my office line, which is 416-499-9626, extension 228, or you can get me on my email, which is lee.burton@securelinkfinancial.com. That's lee.burton@securelinkfinancial.com.
Perfect. Well, you've got so many invaluable pieces of information for our audience. And there's one other subject we have to talk about, and that is life insurance. So hang tight, audience. Thank you so much for joining us today. So please hold on. I'll be right back. It's Linda Pinizzotto of the Condo Xpert. Today I'm speaking with Lee Burton, the account executive of SecureLink Financial Group, making sure that you're safe and you're protected. We'll be right back.
Linda Pinizzotto. She's not your typical realtor. She's your real estate counselor, teacher, and advisor. Whether it's a house, townhome, or condo, when you're ready, she's your negotiator. With 34 years of experience, Linda guarantees that you have the real estate knowledge you need to make the right decisions. Call Linda Pinizzotto at Sutton Group Quantum Realty, 416-561-7373, or visit her at lindapinizzotto.com.